Hello, Miraculously Awesome Squad, aka MLB fam. We are going to be giving our review for the episode Sublimation. But before we get into all of that, please hit that awesome like, that awesome subscribe. Please comment. I love comments and share this video. So at the beginning of the episode, we see Adrian running with Sublime, and we see Marinette with a pair of binoculars, and she's talking to Alia about what are Sublime and Adrian doing while they're running. Are they talking? Are they having a conversation? And at first, it kind of makes it look like Marinette is jealous, but in fact, in the end, they're telling us that Marinette is actually trying to find a way to become friends with Sublime because Sublime ends up knowing Adrian. So apparently, Adrian does have a new sport, which is running, and I'm surprised that the episode didn't actually expand on Adrian becoming a runner, and they actually didn't show him doing a lot of running. They just show him in the beginning running with Sublime, but I would love to see more action of Adrian running in the future. So hopefully they will show us that. But in this episode, we did get a little sneak peek of him running. And as well, we see that Sublime is not only a runner, but that she does have a disability where she doesn't have the bottom half mostly of her legs, which I love this representation of a disability because we barely get animated characters that have disabilities. So I am loving the representation that they're showing us of them running and different things like that. And I love the fact that even though she has a disability, it does not stop her from doing what she loves to do, which is running. In this episode as well, we see that they are trying to impress Bob Ross, which by they, I mean her mom and her dad and also Sublime because Sublime needs a sponsor. I also love that the way they introduced Sublime in the episode of Sublimation. I'm so glad that we got a new character, and I thought that she was going to be a villain, but apparently she's just an awesome person who's a runner and so happens to have a disability, but she's still amazing. Marinette is throughout this whole episode, she's just trying to find a way to be friends with Sublime. And honestly, she is being so extra to the point where Marinette, I feel like, can we just talk about for a second how Marinette invented a new sport? Like, forget Adrian and Sublime running. This girl invented wall running, okay? Wall running is definitely going to be a new Olympic sport. The way she did it, she literally defied gravity, which I found very funny and very Marinette of her. So she definitely is trying to find a way to be Sublime's friend. And at first I was like, why is she being so extra? But when I think about it, Marinette's reaction to trying to be Sublime's friend actually, in my opinion, is not abnormal. Because I feel like, as most of us try to talk to someone who has a disability, like if they're in a wheelchair or if they have a prosthetic leg, it sometimes is kind of, awkward to try and find out how can I speak to a person with a disability. I'm not saying that these people are different, and honestly, all a person with a disability wants is to just be treated as normal. But for us, we're like, okay, how am I supposed to approach this person without saying something offensive to them? So I actually do like the way the show is introducing how people actually feel when trying to make friends with someone with a disability. I know they were saying that this was Marinette's way of trying to figure out how to be friends with Sublime due to the fact that Sublime doesn't actually need any help. But the thing is, also, I think that it ties in with Sublime having a disability. Not saying that Marinette doesn't think that Sublime isn't amazing, just saying that trying to approach that situation, I feel like, is a bit different for all of us. And I just love the way that they actually made that so real because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I've approached and tried to figure out, okay, how should I talk to a person who has a disability? And it can sometimes feel hard. It gets so bad that Marinette even pretends to be akumatized as an akumatized villain as Soapinator, which is really crazy to me because it's like, okay, Marinette, you're kind of doing the most when it comes down to this. Like, you did not have to pretend to be akumatized, but she did pretend to be akumatized, and it definitely had a bad effect because she put soap all over the floor. So due to her putting soap all over the floor and scrubbing the floor, the soap got into Sublime's prosthetics that her dad made for her specifically just so she could do good in this running race in front of Bob Ross. And so, of course, she slips on the soap and she ends up tripping and breaking the prosthetic. And yes, we know that it's Marinette's fault because of it. And she transforms as Ladybug, goes to the field and says, where is he? Where's the akumatized villain? And she's just like, it's okay, it's Marinette Dupan Chang. And she's looking like, Marinette Dupan Chang? Like, do you know my secret? So because Sublime tripped and fell due to Marinette's fault, Bob Ross offers to leave, and Sublime's mother is like, no, give her another chance. And Bob Ross is just basically through. He is on his way leaving, and Sublime's mom, of course, ends up getting akumatized into sublimation. Now, her mom's villain power that Lila gives her is kind of odd to me because her power is to make people better versions of themselves. So, this episode to me is a little weird considering the fact that most villains are trying to cause destruction. And to be honest, that's not really a villain power to me. Like, giving somebody the best version of themselves is basically like a power up. Like, you know how Mario, when he ends up eating a mushroom or he ends up like touching that star and it does that little rainbow thing, it's basically an upgrade of yourself. So it's like, are you a villain? Because you're not giving villain vibes to me. But anyways, Ladybug ends up feeling guilty because now Sublime's mother is akumatized into sublimation. And so they do end up having to fight, or at least Ladybug thinks she has to fight, until she realizes what sublimation's power really is, which is to make people better versions of themselves. So she stops running and gets hit by sublimation's power, and it doesn't do anything to her because Ladybug and Cat Noir are already the best versions of themselves. They had to realize that, but I do think that it was negligent on Lila's part because it's like, do you realize what you really have done? You created a hero on accident. But basically, she's like talking to Ladybug and making Ladybug feel guilty, and it is Ladybug slash Marinette's fault. So when Ladybug does the Lucky Charm, it gives her a mirror, basically telling her that, yeah, you're the villain of this. Like, Sublimation's actually not the villain of this episode, which kind of made me upset because it definitely is different from the regular miraculous narrative where we see that the villain is the villain and Ladybug and Cat Noir are always the heroes. But in this episode, they really made it seem like Ladybug was the villain. And to be honest, I kind of didn't like it because it kind of is giving, I feel like, a future, like showing us the future of what could happen to Ladybug. And maybe a future akumatization of Marinette, which would be bad for Paris. But yeah, they just made Ladybug the villain of this episode, and I'm just like, okay, why would we need to make her a villain when she's usually the hero? Like, that's why we watch this show, because they're supposed to be the heroes always saving the day. Especially now that all the maracas are given to the other holders, the other holders can help Ladybug and Cat Noir fight crime. But it was a really awkward episode to me, the fact that they made Ladybug the villain of this, so that when she did the Lucky Charm, she actually had to apologize to Sublime's mother. And I'm just like, okay, for this episode, I'm like, I'll just accept it. But for future episodes, can we not make Ladybug and Cat Noir seem like the villains? I know that like Cat Blanc was like a villain in episodes of the past, but the thing is, you could tell that he was actually like akumatized. With this, she wasn't even akumatized at this point. Like, this was something that Marinette did, which is why I'm like, this episode is really crazy for doing this. So once all the chaos and commotion is kind of over, Marinette goes and meets Sublime back in like the locker room, and she's telling her that, I'm sorry, for kind of being awkward and basically stalking you everywhere you went to try and figure out how to be your friend. And the thing is, Sublime actually was really cool towards Marinette the whole entire time. Even though Sublime could spot Marinette in all the different places, she never really was actually like rude towards Marinette, which I think is good. I think it shows that Sublime has a very strong character, a very forgiving character, and I think that it can definitely be a positive in the future. So hopefully Sublime will never be akumatized. I mean, I'm not gonna say she might not be, but hopefully this will definitely imply that in the future Sublime will be less likely to be akumatized for this very reason, because she does kind of have this calm personality. Even though she's faced with many adversities, she learns to just bounce back, which I love about this character, and hopefully we'll get more screen time from Sublime. But yeah, even though Marinette caused her to break her prosthetics, and even though Marinette was basically just following her around and Sublime knew it, Sublime handled it, I think, surprisingly well. Because if it was me, I would be looking at her like, are you okay? Why are you following me? Like, I would be asking a lot of questions, like, and I would assume probably like something is wrong with this girl. Somebody needs to give this girl some help. But Sublime actually, I think, in a way, still saw good in Marinette, especially after Sublime asked Adrian, somebody's hiding in the bushes. It's a girl, and she's looking at you. So she's like, is this your girlfriend? And Adrian's like, yeah, that description sounds like Marinette, basically. And so I think because Adrian also did help explain that Marinette was his girlfriend, that was also a reason why Sublime didn't actually like go off on Marinette. He also tells her that it's her unique way of trying to be Sublime's friend. And it's like, honestly, Marinette, you couldn't have just walked up to Sublime and just asked her to be your friend. You literally had to go all around the world in order to ask her to be your friend. Like, girl, that's kind of crazy. But it's just like, the thing is, she made it a little bit, I think, more difficult than she had to. But I mean, she wouldn't be Marinette without making it a little bit more difficult like she usually does. And honestly, while watching this episode, I'm like, Marinette, I feel like you need to be in a sport. Like the way you were jumping over tables and like crawling under tables, and the way she was just like moving around, like my whole body would be aching after all of that. Like this girl, I like she drunk like 50 Red Bulls or 50 Monsters drinks, like energy drinks. Like she acted like she was so crazy. Like I feel like this is beyond season one Marinette. This is definitely beyond what we've usually seen from Marinette. Like this is not just, you know, a little bit like stalker, kind of a little crazy Marinette. This is like almost psychotic, like to the point where she has a whole board and she knows all of Sublime's government information. Like, why do you know all of this stuff, Marinette? Why do you feel like you have to do a whole full-blown government research operation on people? Like, why can't you just be normal and ask people what they like and what they dislike and get to know them, instead of actually like creating a whole weird file on people? Like, I'm gonna need you to get that together, Marinette, ASAP. But in the end, we know that Sublime forgives Marinette, and she's just like, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about and we can be friends. She's like, as long as you don't pull my leg. And Marinette's just looking at her like she's so surprised, like, what? And she's like, Marinette, it's a joke. It's okay. You can laugh. Like, Marinette, do us all a favor and just breathe, girl. Breathe. Please breathe, because I promise sometimes Marinette is not breathing. Hopefully Marinette will learn how to chill. She'll just end up hopefully taking a chill pill, and just before she just goes all crazy, she'll actually think things through before she just does things, because this is just insane to me. Like, if anybody else new gets introduced, I'm kind of scared what this new kind of personality of Marinette, what she'll actually do. Like, it's to the point where she's kind of like acting kind of crazy. Like, I think Marinette might need some therapy, because like this is some very high alert anxiety in my opinion. And also in the end, Sublime was not left without a sponsor. And who did they get to sponsor Sublime now? None other than Kagami's mother, Mrs. Sarubi. So we know that she's going to have something to do with season 6 and being evil, because she should have been locked up. I don't understand why she's still out roaming. And she does her little creepy Gabriel Legret slash Hawkmoth smile at the end. And it's like, yeah, we know you're up to no good. I don't exactly know what she has planned, but I definitely think that she is conspiring and working together with Lila to do some sort of big evil plot. We don't know what it is yet, but we know that it is definitely not going to be good. But guys, let me know what you think about this episode, Sublimation, and our new character, Sublime. Let me know in the comments below. And guys, thank you so much for watching. And always remember, MLB fam, have a miraculously awesome day.